Cynthia here, and today we are going to talk about cortisol, chronic stress, and the effects it has on your body. What's up, guys? Hello. All right, today we are going to talk about cortisol and how important it is to have healthy levels of cortisol in the body. Cortisol can get elevated and it can also be too low. You can be both ends of the spectrum and neither is good. We kind of want just like this ebb and flow of cortisol release throughout the day for us to have maintain a healthy balance in our body. So cortisol, what it's responsible for is it regulates your body's metabolism, of glucose and protein and fatty acids. So when we are chronically stressed, we affect those cortisol levels because cortisol is responsible for that fight or flight response system that you've heard of. And the fight or flight response was meant to be a short-term response. Like you're getting attacked by a lion, you quickly respond and you run or you fight. But it is not meant to be one that is chronic and long drawn and day after day after day. That wears on your system. And so what happens when we have these chronically elevated levels of cortisol, our body receives that as stress. When our body receives stress, its first line of defense is to conserve energy. So by conserving energy, it slows down all metabolic processes in the body to conserve energy. That's why if you have been eating the same foods, doing the same amount of exercise, but come into a large amount of stress and you start to put on weight, it's because your body has lowered its overall total daily calorie burn, the metabolic processes. And so you are not burning as many calories throughout the day because your body is trying to conserve energy. All right, so when dealing with cortisol, I listed here, there's more than this, but these were like the top 9 that I see a lot and that I think have the biggest impact that you can realize when your cortisol levels are disrupted, what can happen, okay? So first thing that happens is increased appetite and cravings. And again, this is a response because your body has ramped down processes and it feels like it's in danger. So one of the ways your body responds to danger or self-defense mechanism is to increase your appetite because it wants to make sure that you have enough food to survive, basically. And this is how the body works. It's still set way back in time. It has not evolved to the high-paced society that we have. We are years and years behind with that. Your body is still operating very simple and it's basic survival is what it's trying to do. You increase body fat. This again goes back to what I talked about. When you are chronically stressed, your body is lowering those metabolic processes, so you're not burning as many calories, so you're likely to increase your body fat. On top of, without getting into it too much, when your body is stressed and the cortisol is released, your body releases amino acids out of the bloodstream, it releases fats, not in a good way, and it increases fat storage. So it releases fat cells from one type of tissue in the body, and then it just puts it into another, typically around your belly. You can see a high stressed, high cortisol, unhealthy body because typically they have a very large belly fat storage is how you can identify that type of body. Okay, you decrease muscle mass because, like what I just said, in response, your body releases amino acids out of the muscle in response for this fight or flight response that you're getting ready to have to use those molecules for energy to get you through this. So you end up losing muscle mass. So we're increasing body fat and we're decreasing muscle mass. That is the wrong thing. We always want to preserve muscle mass and try and get rid of body fat, right? Okay, next is bone density. Again, because we're releasing all these molecules for this fight or flight, and when we're chronically doing that, we're pulling good vitamins and minerals and using them for things that we don't necessarily need to, or to conserve energy from your body. So it pulls from your bone density as well. So these 3 things right here are what are going to contribute to a shorter lifespan. Increased body fat, decreased muscle, and decreased bone density. okay? It needs to be in reverse. You need to have good, strong bones, lots of body fat, lots of muscle mass, and decreased body fat to ensure the longest, healthiest life possible. Next, it's gonna increase anxiety, okay? Cortisol is an anxious hormone. Because it's fight or flight, right? It releases adrenaline, it releases all these hormones and endorphins to get you going and moving to respond to the stress that is coming at you. So you have this increased anxiety, and along comes with increased depression, right? Because you're constantly anxious, which in turn will lead to depression because you feel like you can't manage it. Then, of course, you have mood swings, and again, these go together. The anxiety, the depression, mood swings. You're very angry and irritable, very short fused, very quick in your response. You don't handle things or stop and think about things before you respond to them, right? And it's just because your fuse is so short because it's just been burnt out over and over again. And it's, no fault to your own, but you've got to learn to manage your stress and your sleep patterns. Here you go, decreased libido, decreased sex drive, right? You have just no interest in that, and that's not healthy. As healthy humans, we should have a sex drive. That's what we're here for, is to procreate and, to have kids and all that kind of stuff. So that should be a normal healthy human is to have a normal or satisfactory libido. It should not be decreased. And then impaired immune response. So you drop your immune response. Basically, that says it for itself. You notice you get sick easier, quicker, more often. You have zero energy. You crash like 2 or 3 p.m. every day. You don't feel good. You just don't feel good. So all of these things happen, and it doesn't take long. I'm not talking like months and years of spending, with stress. I'm talking it can 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 2 months of just being under chronic stress. You're gonna start to have some of these symptoms, and some of these physiological symptoms happen to you, and it's not good, okay? So this is why when I talk with my clients, every week I have some biofeedback checkpoints that I have with my clients to make sure that we're managing stress. If stress and sleep are not managed, we're taking the appropriate steps to manage them, okay? When you have sleep patterns that are very irregular, or you're only getting 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night, this is going to start to happen, okay? That is chronic stress on your body as well. You need 7 to 8 hours of sleep, all right? So we work on ways to try and figure out how to increase the sleep. Because again, if you have decreased sleep, you're not going to function as good throughout the day. You're not going to handle, if you're in a high-paced job, you're not going to handle that stress of that job very well. That stress of that job is just going to crank on your cortisol even more and raise your levels, and you're going to elicit even more of these symptoms quicker because you're compounding the sleep and the stress together, right? And then when we have poor sleep, it also messes with our hunger hormones, which increases appetite and cravings throughout the day. Because again, the decreased sleep is seen as stress to the body. Body's self-defense to that is to increase food to prevent us from starving, basically, is how it works. That's very simplified, but that's the best way to describe it without getting too technical into it, I guess you could say. There is a really great book out called The Cortisol Connection. If you take interest in this and you really feel like this is something that has affected your cortisol, your stress, the chronic stress, you have poor sleep patterns, identify with 2 or more of these symptoms, you might want to take a look at that book and read it. It can be very, very helpful and very insightful as to your body's response to cortisol, chronic stress, lack of sleep type patterns, and maybe help you to improve it if you don't have a coach. But this is what we do with my program. We work on this. There are supplements if I find clients that have these elevated cortisol levels when we do their lab work. There are supplements and regimens and things that we do to bring those cortisol levels down. So there's not saying there's no hope, guys. This is all reversible. You can totally fix all of this and improve your quality of life. You have to put the work in to do it, and it's going to be hard depending upon how long you've been in these cycles, but you totally can do it. The other thing that can happen in females is elevated cortisol levels also increases your estrogen levels, okay? When estrogen levels are increased, it can mess with your cycle, and you can have an irregular or no cycle. So those, when I have clients that are experiencing those symptoms as well, we get lab work done immediately. We look at these levels, and then we start a supplement protocol and a stress relief protocol to improve that, because that is a big sign of your body saying you've got to slow down, stop, something, we've got to back off of this. So I hope this is helpful for you guys. It's nothing, I hear a lot, like, I'll sleep when I die and stuff like that. And you guys, it's not, you need to take it more seriously. If you want to live a long, healthy life, if you're here for longevity, you want to feel good, you want to have good energy, you don't want to be on 13 medications when you're 60 years old, you don't want to be shuffling back and forth to doctor's appointments, you need to take this seriously. And your health and your cortisol is a big, big part of it, especially in this day and age, because we are just constantly have stuff coming at us from all angles, from the social media, to the news, to COVID, to now the holiday season on top of it compounded. It's a lot. Kids in homeschool, and if you think that it doesn't affect you and you're just moving through it, I guarantee it does, because it's not your normal. You've had to adjust, and there's nothing wrong with stepping back, evaluating yourself, seeing where you can improve, just for your health. Because if you're not in an optimal spot, how can you expect yourself to continue on and take care of others if you're not taking care of yourself? So it's just like that, the saying in the airplane, if the plane's going down, you put your mask on first and then you help others, right? Because you can't help anybody else if you're going down. So same thing applies here. Take care of yourself, and then you can better take care of others, your family, whatever that may be. So, all right, guys, hopefully this was helpful. And again, the book is called The Cortisol Connection. If you would like to read that book, if you would like to get more in tune with it, or if you want to hire a good coach that can help you look at these things, read your lab work, and help you get started on a healthier pathway. So, all right, I'll see you guys in the next